Hello, welcome back to the Villa View. It's time for a match preview in association with Luke 1977. If you do visit their website and you want to get 20% off, then just use the code TVV20 and that will get you the money off most items. Some items are for charity and stuff, so they're not included, but most things will give you a discount. Villa are at Brighton on Saturday evening. And Dolan, to be fair, we like a Saturday 8 o'clock kickoff recently, don't we?
Yeah, I'd rather have that than Wednesday on BT Sport.
Yeah, we're struggling
Although,
we're struggling on a Wednesday.
Big up BT Sport for all the support, but yeah, it doesn't seem to go down too well. BT Sport games on a Wednesday night, lost the last three, but yeah, another tough game. You look at the fixtures and they're all difficult. Coming off the back of Saturday's result, that was more like it. That was the Villa that we all have come to know and love this season. We ground that game out on Saturday. The way we did against Southampton and whatever went on against West Ham was one of those few and far between games that we've seen from us this season. So. Listen, tough game. They're playing tonight. You said to me before we came on camera that they've got a few injuries, which I wasn't aware of. Tough place to go. Brighton are kind of one of those teams. I thought they gave us a real game at our place back in, I think it was November. We played well that day. Obviously, Barkley went off after the first few minutes and kind of disrupted play. I was super confident going to that game. I really thought we'd win there comfortably, but they did a job on us, and obviously we had that decision at the end that the penalty that was given that was then overturned. But they're a good side. They've got some really good results. You don't go and beat Spurs at home and keep a clean sheet against Spurs, and again following on that, keeping a clean sheet against Liverpool, getting 3 points at Anfield, and then a really good point at Burnley, which we couldn't do away last week. So. They're a very good team under Potter. They're playing good football, but they seem to now have found a bit more of a way to win, which I think you ask a lot of the Brighton fans and even a lot of pundits and neutral fans. Like, we all love the way Brighton play, but they never really seem to be able to grind out results. The last sort of month, they've seemed to have been able to grind out the results and still play good football. So tough game on Saturday.
Yeah, they've got a bit more of a steely resolve now that they've found a way to win. As you say, they've lined up with three at the back in recent games, which, to be fair, if ever you wanted a striker to go up against three at the back, because I always think as a lone forward, it is difficult when you've got three big centre-backs up against you. It's only Watkins at the moment because he is on top of his game, isn't he?
Yeah, no, he seems to have found that spark. In fact, he's probably playing with more confidence than he did at the start of the season. And that's the thing with Watkins. I was never worried about his lack of goal scoring, but you could see he was clearly frustrated. It didn't affect his overall performances when he wasn't scoring, but you can see now he just seems to have his chest is out. He seems to be playing with a smile on his face. And don't get me wrong, anyone that's been playing for Exeter 2 years ago to come in and be Villa's top signing, a record signing of 30 odd million quids. I'm sure he won't want to say it, but. It's a big weight to carry. It's a big weight to carry on your shoulders, especially when you're not scoring. And he wants to almost prove to the likes of Jack Grealish why Jack has signed that 5-year deal. He's come in. He wants to be right. Jack, you give the ball to me. I'll put it in the back of the net, and we'll climb up the table. And I think over the last three games, he's shown exactly. I thought on Saturday he was outstanding, like absolutely very, outstanding.
Very good.
So good, and I think Carragher brought up some stats there on Monday Night Football with Chris Coleman, and I think he's like, for goals scored for English strikers, third or fourth with 11. Top of the charts I think is Calvert-Lewin and Kane and Ings. But if you think about the goals that Watkins has had chalked off, he's had easily 3 goals. Two that come to my mind: the West Brom away, West Ham away. That were I think onside. Obviously, there was the Newcastle goal, the second goal, which was offside. He's missed the penalty as well against West Ham. So he could be looking at 14 or 15. And he's had so many efforts as well. Even again on Saturday, a ball just whistled past the post. You think of that Palace game on Boxing Day. For me, again, he didn't score, but he was man of the match that day as well. So. No, he's only gonna get better, Dan. And I think this first season in the Premier League to be hitting those kind of numbers and playing at those levels is seriously impressive.
Yeah, he's a really impressive guy. I mean, I think that's the word that sticks with him, really. I mean, he does so much unseen and things that you probably wouldn't pick up on off the ball. He disrupts defences. He gets in behind them. He creates space for others. He puts the ball in the back of the net. He wins stuff in the air that he's got no right to win. And most of all, as well, defensively, he's very good for a striker. I
Yeah, I
heard a
mean,
player the other day talking about him defending from the front. He's their first defender.
yeah, I mean, I've never actually seen him. It's a shame because no one's seen him live. I mean, we probably would have seen him. Did we see him play last 2 years ago in the championship? But whenever we were at Brentford away, was
I
he playing
remember
for
him
them
at
at
Villa
that point?
Park.
I don't recall seeing him live. I've seen Brentford a few times, but I don't recall seeing him. Or maybe he just wasn't, he wasn't in my, on my radar. But I would love to see him live because it's kind of hard to tell. It's hard to tell on the TV what kind of player he is. But he's got everything. He's literally got everything. Once he gets his confidence up and he starts banging in goals for fun like he is at the minute, Dan, he could be the next Benteke. He could be the next Dwight York. He could be, that 20 goal a season man
Well,
that
he's
we've
on
been crying
track.
out for the last 5 to 10 years. And with Wesley, I think with Wesley, when Wesley wasn't scoring, I didn't feel he added too much to the game, but when Watkins wasn't scoring in that little patch, he was still bringing players into the game. He was, we were still winning games comfortably, and he brought so much more to the team than just goals. And I think that's a sign of a top striker when you aren't scoring the goals, but yet you're bringing your teammates into the game. I can think of Palace, West Brom, the Wolves game, the Chelsea game. Games he didn't score in, but he was so effective, so effective in.
I think as well he's impressive as a character. I watched an interview with him earlier. I think he was on a channel called Gaffer, and I think it was actually only 4 games have been played at this point, but the interview completely passed me by. So I watched that, and just the way he was talking is impressive. He talks about how the best players, they don't get too down, they don't dwell on things, and he's had to learn to not dwell on missed chances. I mean, you can see a little bit when he does miss a chance that it plays on his mind a little bit, but he must have been really bad with that before. And just the way he talks about wanting to improve and be the best he can be, make his family proud. He's come up that route of playing in the lower leagues, playing for Exeter, building himself up to get to the level of Brentford, and now a team that are challenging for the top 6, top 8 in the Premier League. He's worked hard. I think he's only 24 still as well, Watkins. So there's still plenty more in him, but just all round, he's been a sensational signing for us, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been great. And I have worried about the fact that he's had a lot to carry on his shoulders. I do still think, and I try and get this comment in on every single podcast. I just think he needs a bit of help. We need someone to come in and just give him a break. Give him a game on the sidelines because he's played pretty much every minute of every game this season in the Premier League. And I think he's been absolutely sensational, and even his pressing is incredible. It's just his overall work rate and his hunger to get better, as you say, to get better and better. And he seems like overall like a really great guy, like a really, really good guy. And I think all the signings that we've made, they're all just really, really good people first and foremost. They all come from good stock. They all have that hunger and that desire to want to get better. There's no arrogance. In fact, as a squad, there doesn't seem to be anyone that has that level of arrogance. They all seem to really want to work for each other, and they all seem to get on as a squad, which is quite rare to get 23 players together that get on and all pull in the same direction. And again, that's just credit to Dean Smith and his coaching staff and the whole club for building that mentality and that kind of ethos throughout the club, and seems to be working its way down to the youth team and also over the women's team as well. So yeah, I say there's nothing more I can say about Watkins that I haven't already covered. That he's been worth every penny. And I think any striker of English striker of his age in his debut season in the Premier League to hit double figures is it's some going, and we're only just past the halfway stage as well. So you can see him getting. I mean, if he carries on like this, he'll get 21, 22 goals this season, which is staggering, absolutely staggering. And there's no, it's like I said last season, we struggled because we didn't have a goal scorer. Teams struggle. If you haven't got a goal scorer, that's it. They're hard to come by. And we get laughed at for signing Watkins for 30 odd million quid, but they're hard to come by. You have to pay top dollar for them. And you think of the return we'll get from him. He's pretty much already repaid that. I mean, we're safe. We're safe. We're in the league for another season. We're not getting relegated. For me, that was all. I just wanted, you ask anyone, but we just wanted to have a fairly bland sort of second season in the Premier League. But it's been more than that. It's been incredible, and we're safe. So he's already repaid the fee with the money that we'll recoup from being in the Premier League for a third straight season. So absolutely incredible signing.
Yeah, he's repaid that fee with absolute aplomb. I mean, if you look when we were playing Brighton last season, and it transpired in that game that we were relying on a bit of Grealish magic. If we didn't get any Grealish magic, we'd have lost that game. And you felt like that for a fair few games before we went into that COVID break last season. For us to even be in a position to be starting a podcast talking about someone that isn't Jack Grealish winning games for us, that's a great turnaround, because that game last year, literally, it was that Grealish magic that got us a point. Now you feel like there's threats coming from multiple areas, including, as you say, actually having a goal scorer, which is something we didn't have last season.
Yeah, and the goals are being shared out amongst the team. I mean, I know Ghazi sort of bagged 4 or 5 there on the bounce over Christmas. He's kind of quieting down a little bit. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I'd like to see Barkley add a few more goals this game. He's obviously come back and bagged the winner against Southampton. I think he's just starting to find his feet again. He hasn't played that much football over the last few years. And then to have the injury that he had against Brighton at home, he's starting to come back to full fitness. But you're right, mate. There's goals across there's goals across the team, and we're not relying on Jack anymore. And I think Jack's thriving on that, and it's probably, you can see his game's lifted because he hasn't got the burden or the pressure or the weight in the shoulders of being the star man. And well, he is a star man, but like the man that if he doesn't deliver, or if he has a 6 or a 7 out of 10, which he rarely has, but if he has a 6 or a 7 out of 10, then we can still win the game because we have players around him that can carry him, that can help him out. Must have been a nightmare for him last season. It must have been an absolute nightmare trying to just grind out results single-handedly, like he did against. You said that we were actually at the home game last year against Brighton, and we were speaking to him after. We were speaking to Jack afterwards, and you said to him it was probably the best single performance you've seen from a footballer at Villa Park in your 26, 27 years of going to Villa Park.
I'd had a few beers, to be fair.
We've had a few beers, yeah. But although we're not here this season, I tell you what, if we were at the games this season, I think you'd be saying that about a few more players. I think Mings, Konza, Martinez, Luis, Matty Cash, Matty Target, these players are all stepping up. And I remember John Gregory, whenever we did that interview with John Gregory a few years ago, when we were probably, we're probably as good a side now as we were under the likes of Gregory and O'Neill. Yeah. Gregory would have said people like Hendry and Merson, most of that squad, they didn't dip below an 8 out of 10 on a weekly basis. And you go through our squad from back to front, and like very, very few of them are dipping below a 7 or an 8 week in, week out. And it's that consistency, And the thing is, the players have earned the right to make a mistake, because everyone makes mistakes. I think Martinez would be the first to admit it, made a mistake for those West Ham goals. But you won't hear me complaining about it, because he's earned the right. And I said that about this last season, or was it the start of the season? How good are this Villa team, and what can they achieve? Well, I think they need to earn the right to be called a great team. They need to earn the right to have the top 6 finish after top 6 finish, or cup run after cup run, and they're on the way. They're on the way to becoming another great team in Aston Villa's proud history. They're going to be talked about if we can keep this group of players together. I mean, even Luis, he's only 21, 22 years old. It's the youngest average age in the Premier League. I mean, it's just incredible. Like, if you look at the way the club's gone, and I think they want to build that longevity. And I think you look at the top teams in any division across the world, they have a settled structure, they have a settled spine. You need a team to perform over 3 or 4 years. And I think what you're saying with Liverpool now, I know we're not playing Liverpool, we're playing Brighton, but what you're saying about teams like Liverpool, they're kind of coming to the end of that cycle. we're just beginning our cycle. It's like Man City have kind of, they're coming to the end of their cycle with, Aguero and company and Silva. Now they're starting to rebuild and go again and become another great team. You look at the United teams under Ferguson; they always had to remodel themselves, And I think this Villa team are at the start of something special. And especially with that average age, if we can keep this group of players together and just keep on adding just quality players here and there, this could be a team that we talk about for the next 25, 30 years.
Yeah, and you talked about consistency as well. One thing we've done exceptionally well to do this season, which was something we never really did last season at all, is it's quite easy in the Premier League to get caught in a crisis and you lose a game and suddenly losing one turns into 2, 3, 4 and you're on a bad run, 5 without a win. We had that a few times last season. When we've lost games in the main, we've bounced back. I mean, we made a joke at the start about the Wednesday, Saturday thing, but that just shows you when we lose a game, there's a reaction, and again, that's another strong mental thing within this side, that they do bounce back. You talked about Martinez, and he had an off game against West Ham. It's the first one he's had. Fair enough. No, you're not going to catch anyone having a go at him. But then there's a reaction against Arsenal, and okay, he wants to do well against Arsenal anyway. But you could just see the focus, and he spoke after the game about the focus of the team and how they weren't going to get beat today, and that they had that drive, and just everything you've just been saying and what I've said there. We are an impressive outfit now at Aston Villa Football Club. Very, very impressive. Doing a lot of things right.
I think the players they're taking it upon themselves to improve. I think sometimes as a manager, you can only give them so much, and it's up to them. Do they want it? Are they hungry? How far do these group of players want to go? How far do they want to push themselves to get to those peak levels? And I think Martinez said after the game that he knew he had a bad game on Wednesday. This is after the Arsenal game, and I think he stayed back with big cuts and he was just having shots fired at him left, right, and centre because he knew he made a mistake, and it's that willingness to understand where you've gone wrong and to put it right. And Dean Smith didn't need to give them a rollick in at full time against West Ham. They knew, and. You've got, although we're a young team, I tell you what, there's a lot of character and a lot of wisdom and a lot of kind of belief and maturity, amongst that group of players for a group so young. They've certainly got the right mentality and the right mindset. And I think last season probably again a blessing in disguise for players to come in. Like Luis and Konza and Target and Trezeguet, to name a few, and to get through what they got through last season. If they can get through that and achieve what they did last season, they can achieve anything. They literally can, they can achieve anything because, they were finished. That team was finished before lockdown. It was finished. It was gone. It was done. And then even, when we came back from lockdown, we weren't great. Let's be honest. The first few games, we weren't good in the eye. We were just trying to be hard to beat. And then, after that United game, we were 7 points off safety, 4 to play. Again, finished, job done. Like we were gone, and to pull yourself out of that rut, and to stay up like how we stayed up, and then to kick on, and to be on the same points tally as we were for the whole of last season. Honestly, like I don't know many teams that have progressed. Maybe Leicester, obviously they went on to win the league, but a team to be so off the pace last season to now in the space of 10 months to be so on the ball and on the pace, and to be one of the most talked about teams in the Premier League. And it's only taken us 20 games to be spoken about in the media, and Dean Smith's, it's only taken him 20 games to be recognised and applauded and praised. But we've got there, and I think now all the proper pundits and the football people and journalists, like, they love watching Villa play, and that's something that we haven't said about our team at that level for a long time. I mean, we all loved watching ourselves in the Championship the year we went up on that 10 game run, but the Championship only gets broadcasted on Quest. It doesn't get broadcast really around the world. We're behaving like a big club. We're playing some of the best football I've seen in the last 10 or 12 years, and like I said, this season already is a success. We've already achieved more than I thought we would, and I think it's just trying to enjoy the ride and enjoy the next how many years that this team stay together. And I hope we can. I hope we can build something special, and I hope the management and the players get a chance to do that.
What are you thinking for team selection on Saturday? Because Nakamba came in and did very little wrong.
Very good.
So then again, he's had another year now. We haven't seen much of him this season. Yeah. Actually, like Louise, like all the other players we've spoke about, he's now bedded in, but we just haven't seen him. So it'd be pretty harsh to take him out. I think he will come out for Louise. I think Louise was probably just a one-game resting thing. But what are you thinking for team selection?
Well, I mean, if Smith goes on what is on his word, then he'll keep Nakamba in the team. You know, he always says if you have the jersey, it's yours, and and you play it and you do well enough to keep it, then you keep it. Conor Hurahan might say different, but I think on the whole, like if you're in the right to play to keep the jersey, then Nakamba for me was probably man of the match on Saturday, alongside Watkins. I thought he was absolutely incredible, and I thought coming in to the Newcastle game, was a game that probably suited him. But I was a bit dubious. Don't get me wrong. When I saw Luis on the bench, I was like, "Ooh, this could be, we could get our pockets picked here in the centre of the park." But would you rather have Partey or Nakamba on Saturday in your midfield? I know who I would have rather have, and we had him, and that was Nakamba, and he was outstanding. He was outstanding on Saturday, and it just again goes to show what 12 months in the Premier League can do, and a year can do, and how you can adapt. And he was super impressive. But I think he'll stick with the same team. I think Nakamba will stay. I do, yeah. I think it'll be the same team we saw, the same 11 we saw on Saturday. Because how can you drop any one of them? They were all to a man. They were all brilliant.
I suppose you could argue. You could argue either or, couldn't you? With Louise coming back in, you might see McGinn have a game off for all we know. We just don't know, do we? But I think there's an argument definitely to play Nakamba against Brighton, because I think the type of football Brighton play, probably having a disruptor in there, someone who can recover the ball and keep it simple. I mean, to be fair, Louise is very good at those things as well, but Nakamba is just more of a defensive midfielder, isn't he? He's more of a ball winner than Louise. You've persuaded me that I think he might keep it the same. I'd have said Louise would come back in, but from what you've said, actually, you may well see Nakamba stay. It's difficult.
I'm based on the El Ghazi Traore situation. When El Ghazi came in and kept his place, and obviously Trezeguet was out of the team, so it was either between El Ghazi and Traore, and El Ghazi came in and had a great game scored against Wolves, and then kind of his confidence kept him in the side, and he went on to bag 4 or 5 that month. So I'm basing it off what I've seen this season. And although Dean Smith isn't one to rotate a team, he seems to, he does rotate a player, so
it's usually the right winger.
Yeah, exactly. It's usually the right winger, exactly. So we'll see. But I think it'll be the same 11. I think it'll be the same 11 as Saturday, and nobody could argue with that.
Yeah, and Tyree Lamptey, to be fair, was one of the ones that absolutely caused us all kinds of trouble in that Brighton game. He's out. I think Proper's out. I think Webster's 50-50. So they've got some players out, although they've been coping well with that. They're unbeaten in a month. But it is a good chance to get back-to-back wins, and it's those back-to-back wins that consolidate you and move you up the table and get you pushing for Europe. And now in that second half of the season, I think that's what we all want now, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's like you said, last season, whenever we were getting beat, we would have gone on a 4 or 5 game winless run. But now, when we lose a game like we did against Burnley, and let's be honest, a game we should have won comfortably, and then to pick ourselves up again and get a 1-0 win against Southampton. Same with West Ham, we were just bad on the night, but again we picked ourselves up straight away and won the next game. So. It'll be a tough game. Brighton are a good side. After that, we've got Leicester, Leeds, Wolves, Newcastle. I mean, they're all tough games, man. They're all really hard games. And I think we can go into games now with a bit less pressure. For me as a fan, every game last season was a must-win. It was a must-win. And yes, they're all must-wins, but you can kind of go into these games now with a little bit of freedom. And hopefully that'll show in the way we play. There's not as much pressure in terms of staying in the division because we're safe. We're not going to go down, and that'll be a meme and a half if we end up going down. We'll pull that soundbite. But yeah, we're safe. We're not going to go down, and and the only way at the minute is up. It took me 15 games to look that way at the table instead of that way. Even
That's
after
just you, though.
I was looking behind us instead of up the way, But so now we're kind of in a position where we're looking at the likes of Everton, we're looking at the likes of Leicester, we're looking at Chelsea, Arsenal, Spurs. We've got those teams to come, and I think this team, as Dean Smith said, like they like to break records, and to do the double over Arsenal for the first time since 92, 93 was staggering when you think of the teams we've had over the years since then. And in the Premier League, we've had some phenomenal teams, and none of them could do it. So again, it's another little box ticked by this group of players that might not mean a lot to other fans of other clubs, but means a lot. Small wins make eventually make the big win not too far away.
No, I think that sums it up quite nicely. And obviously, we've brought back match previews. We've had a bit of a switch around. Obviously, we were doing the Luke Live Lounge before. We will be bringing them back when we get guests and stuff, when there's someone that we're speaking to. But we just felt that match previews would work better. It used to obviously be a staple of the channel. So we've brought that back. And we thank Luke very much for backing that and sponsoring this show. Dolan, give me a prediction to finish. What's the score going to be on Saturday?
I'm gonna go. Obviously I want to predict a win. So my head's saying 1-1. My heart is saying 2-0 Villa.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for another Saturday 1-0 away from home. That's what I'm gonna go. We love them. We love a 1-0 away from home
all day long, and nice 8 o'clock. Clean sheet. The last 3 games we've played on Saturday at 8 o'clock have been clean sheets. So let's go for another clean sheet.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll keep that run going. We'll be back for a post-match pint as well after the game around 10 o'clock, 10:15 in association with Purity. So make sure you're checking that out. And don't forget, if you do want to get some Luke Roper apparel, if you use the code TVV20, that'll get you 20% off. And it also helps the channel grow a little bit as well. There are other codes knocking around, but ignore them. They're not as good as our code. We've got our shop as well with the mugs, the prints. Go and check them out and treat yourself to some Villa View goodies as well. Dolan, are you here on Saturday? Are you around after the game? I
don't know. I need to clear with Mrs. First, But
let's ask her now, Laura. Let's ask her now on air. No, we won't ask her.
I'll get divorced.
Well, I guess everyone that watches will know whether you've got permission or not on Saturday.
Yeah, we'll see.
By watching the show.
We'll see who wears the trousers, but yeah, I'll say something that you never say. Please subscribe and turn your post notifications on.
Yeah, do all that, and a like and a comment as well. We always like have a like and a comment. Yeah, excellent, lovely, Dolan. Thank you for ending the show, and thank you for joining me for this match preview. It's good to have them back. Only one thing left to say: up the Villa.